actually just a change of the business, you know, like everything is so youth-oriented now. You got to have the old guy playing the...
Behind the scenes of the classic film The Magnificent Seven, a hidden secret emerged. James Coburn, respected throughout Hollywood, harbored an intense hatred for YUL Brynner. What happened between these two stars, and why did this animosity persist until the end of their lives? Let's uncover the story. In the sprawling history of Hollywood, there are stars who burned bright and faded quickly. And then there are those whose presence carved a permanent mark on cinema. James Coburn belongs firmly to the latter. With his towering frame, sharp features, and a voice that carried both authority and mischief, Coburn was not just another actor of his era. He was a symbol of rugged masculinity and understated charisma. Yet, behind the screen presence that audiences came to adore lay a story woven with hardship, resilience, reinvention, and an unwavering devotion to his craft. Born in Laurel, Nebraska, in 1928, James Harrison Coburn Jr. entered the world during one of the most difficult chapters in American history, the Great Depression. Like many families of that generation, the Coburns knew the harsh realities of scarcity and survival. His childhood was shaped by these struggles, instilling in him a toughness that would later define many of the characters he portrayed. Coburn grew up fascinated by stories of adventure and heroism, and though his early life gave him little hint of the stardom that awaited, it did build the foundation of grit that would carry him through Hollywood's unforgiving landscape. Before stepping into the limelight, Coburn answered a different kind of calling. He served in the United States Army, an experience that introduced him to discipline and structure. When he returned to civilian life, his trajectory shifted dramatically. Instead of settling into a conventional career, Coburn sought expression through the performing arts. He enrolled in acting classes, absorbing techniques from some of the best mentors of the time. His lanky frame, piercing eyes, and deep, resonant voice immediately set him apart from other aspiring actors. Hollywood, with its endless appetite for new faces, took notice. His breakout role came in 1960 with John Sturgis's classic western, The Magnificent Seven. Cast as Britt, the quiet but deadly gunman with a mastery of knives, Coburn didn't have many lines, but he didn't need them. His physicality, his aura of cool detachment, and the way he moved with coiled precision made him unforgettable. Audiences recognized something unique. Here was an actor who could dominate the screen not by speaking, but simply by existing within the frame. Coburn's Britt became a fan favorite and established him as a name to watch. The 1960s and 70s would prove to be Coburn's golden era. He became synonymous with action and adventure, embodying a new kind of hero. Witty, self-assured, and often laced with irony. In Our Man Flint, 1966, and its sequel, he played Derek Flint, a parody of the James Bond archetype. The role showcased not just his action credentials, but also his ability to blend comedy with charm. Unlike the brooding spies or stoic gunslingers of the time, Coburn's Flint was playful, eccentric, and irresistibly stylish. The film cemented his place as a pop culture icon and demonstrated the versatility that would define his career. But Coburn was never content with being typecast. His collaborations with filmmakers like Sam Peckinpah revealed an actor capable of exploring darker, more introspective themes. In Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, 1973, Coburn delivered a performance of striking depth, portraying a man torn between loyalty and duty, friendship and survival. It was a role that showcased the layers beneath his tough exterior, a reminder that he was not simply an action star, but an artist capable of profound nuance. Yet even for Hollywood's brightest, life is rarely a straight ascent. The 1980s dealt Coburn a devastating setback. Stricken with rheumatoid arthritis, a crippling condition that deformed his hands and limited his mobility, he found himself forced into an almost decade-long hiatus. The pain was so severe that for years he could barely walk, let alone perform the physical demands of the roles he was known for. Many assumed his career was over. But Coburn was never one to accept defeat quietly. He turned to alternative therapies, exploring everything from nutritional changes to holistic treatments. Gradually, his condition improved. By the mid-1990s, he reemerged, older and leaner, but with the same commanding presence that had once made him a star. And in 1999, in what can only be described as a triumphant comeback, he delivered the performance of his life in Paul Schrader's Affliction. As Glenn Whitehouse, an abusive and deeply flawed father, Coburn channeled decades of personal struggle into a portrayal both terrifying and heartbreakingly human. It was raw, unflinching, and unforgettable. The Academy took notice, awarding him the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. For Coburn, it was not just recognition of a single role, but a vindication of a lifetime in cinema. A career that had survived triumphs, reinventions, and near collapse, only to return with more force than ever. If James Coburn's career illuminated the big screen with grit and charisma, his personal life revealed a man of surprising depth, curiosity, and loyalty. Beyond the action hero image that captivated audiences, Coburn nurtured friendships and philosophies that shaped his worldview and left a lasting impact far beyond Hollywood's soundstages. One of the most remarkable and defining relationships in his private life was his friendship with martial arts legend Bruce Lee. Their bond transcended the usual Hollywood camaraderie. It was a genuine meeting of minds and spirits. At a time when martial arts were still relatively unknown in the West, Coburn was not only intrigued but wholly committed to understanding Lee's craft. He became one of Lee's most dedicated students, training under his guidance and immersing himself in both the physical discipline and the philosophical underpinnings of martial arts. For Coburn, these lessons went beyond punches and kicks. He absorbed Lee's teachings on adaptability, presence, and self-mastery, principles that influenced not only his performances on screen, but also his approach to life. The friendship was profound enough that when Bruce Lee died suddenly in 1973, shocking fans around the world, James Coburn was among the select few chosen to carry his coffin. It was a moment that revealed the depth of their bond, one forged not through Hollywood contracts or superficial alliances, but through respect and shared passion. Coburn would later reflect on how Lee's philosophy stayed with him long after his friend's passing, guiding his understanding of discipline and balance even in the face of his own struggles with illness. When it came to love, Coburn's story was one of both turbulence and enduring partnership. His first marriage to Beverly Kelly in 1959 lasted nearly 2 decades. Together, they had 2 children, weaving a family life even as Coburn's career demanded long hours and global attention. Like many Hollywood unions of the era, the marriage eventually succumbed to the pressures of fame and personal change, ending in divorce in 1979. Yet, by all accounts, Coburn remained a devoted father, mindful of the role family played in grounding him amid the chaos of stardom. A new chapter began in 1993 when he married Paula O'Hara, also known as Paula Murad, a television actress and model. Their relationship was built not just on love, but on a shared sense of purpose. Together, they founded a philanthropic foundation dedicated to causes that mattered deeply to them: education, the arts, and medical research. For Coburn, who had personally endured years of debilitating illness, the pursuit of medical progress was especially poignant. This venture showed a side of the actor rarely glimpsed by the public. A man determined to leave a legacy not just through film, but through acts of generosity and compassion. Friends and colleagues often remarked that Coburn's off-screen presence mirrored his on-screen aura: calm, confident, and deeply authentic. He was not one to chase publicity or indulge in the theatrics of celebrity culture. Instead, he cultivated circles of trust and intimacy, surrounding himself with people who shared his curiosity about the world. Conversations with Coburn could easily drift from filmmaking to philosophy, from martial arts to jazz. Indeed, music was another of his passions. He was an avid fan of jazz and often sought solace in its rhythms, seeing in it the same improvisational spirit that he cherished in acting and in life. Coburn's friendships extended into Hollywood's inner circles as well. He was admired by contemporaries not only for his professionalism, but also for his loyalty. Stories abound of his generosity, whether it was offering guidance to younger actors or simply being a steadfast friend during turbulent times. Unlike many stars who cultivated distance, Coburn embraced authenticity, bringing the same openness to personal connections that he did to his art. What stands out when reflecting on Coburn's private life is the sense of balance he sought. He lived in the high-octane world of Hollywood action films, Yet his heart often returned to quieter pursuits: martial arts practice, philosophical reflection, philanthropy, and meaningful companionship. This duality made him unique. He could be the larger-than-life hero on the screen while also embodying humility and introspection in his personal world. In the end, James Coburn's private life paints a portrait of a man who is more than the sum of his roles. He was a devoted friend, a thoughtful student of philosophy, a family man who experienced both joy and hardship, and a philanthropist who used his platform for greater good. His friendship with Bruce Lee revealed his openness to learning and cultural exchange, while his marriage to Paula brought forth his commitment to giving back. The closing chapter of James Coburn's life was as poignant as it was dignified. After decades of electrifying audiences with his commanding screen presence, after enduring the ravages of illness and savoring a late career renaissance crowned by an Academy Award, Coburn's journey came to a quiet end on November 18, 2002. He was 74 years old when a fatal heart attack struck him at his Beverly Hills home. News of his passing reverberated through Hollywood and beyond, stirring tributes that spoke not just to the actor he was, but to the man he had been. Coburn's death marked the loss of a performer whose career had defied easy categorization. Colleagues remembered him not only as the knife-wielding gunslinger from The Magnificent Seven or the suave super spy from Our Man Flint, but also as the consummate professional who approached every set with humor, humility, and a kind of grounded wisdom that came from weathering life's storms. Younger actors who had grown up watching him now looked back on his work as a masterclass in subtlety and control, a reminder that charisma often lies in restraint, in the ability to command attention without ever raising one's voice. But while his career achievements were widely celebrated, the grief over his passing was compounded by what happened soon after. Just 2 years later, in 2004, Coburn's wife, Paula, also passed away, losing her battle with cancer. For those who had admired the couple's partnership, their near-simultaneous departures carried a bittersweet resonance. They had shared a life of love, collaboration, and philanthropy, and in death, they became inseparable in memory. The legacy they left together went far beyond the silver screen. Their charitable foundation, dedicated to advancing education, nurturing the arts, and supporting medical research, became a lasting symbol of their shared values. For Coburn, who had once endured the crippling effects of arthritis, investing in medical progress was not an abstract gesture, but a deeply personal mission. For Paula, who believed passionately in the power of art and education to transform lives, philanthropy was an extension of her worldview. Together, they used their platform not merely for celebrity, but for service, a dimension of their lives that the public would continue to honor long after their passing. In the wake of Coburn's death, tributes poured in from across the industry. Fellow actors recalled his generosity and wit. Directors praised his ability to bring layers of humanity to even the most hardened characters. Critics reflected on how his work had stretched across genres, from westerns to espionage spoofs, from gritty dramas to philosophical collaborations with auteurs. The Los Angeles Times described him as the very embodiment of cool, while others emphasized the resilience that allowed him to stage one of Hollywood's most remarkable comebacks in the 1990s. What made Coburn's passing particularly resonant was the sense that he had completed a full, if turbulent, arc. He had been born into hardship during the Great Depression, carved out a space in Hollywood through sheer presence, faced and nearly succumbed to debilitating illness, only to rise again and earn the profession's highest honor. His final years, though cut short, carried a sense of fulfillment. He had proven, both to himself and to the industry, that true artistry is not measured by longevity alone, but by the ability to adapt, to endure, and to leave behind performances that stand the test of time. Even today, decades after his death, Coburn's image retains a timeless quality. The steely-eyed gunslinger, the smirking secret agent, the tortured father figure. These are archetypes that live on not only in film history, but in the collective memory of audiences worldwide. His voice, gravelly yet magnetic, continues to echo in the minds of those who revisit his films. His silhouette, tall, lean, effortlessly cool, remains instantly recognizable. And his story of resilience in the face of hardship continues to inspire both fans and aspiring actors alike. In reflecting on James Coburn's passing, one cannot help but see the symmetry in his life's journey. He began as a child of the Depression, forged his identity in Hollywood's golden age, endured years of obscurity due to illness, and re-emerged to claim his place among the greats. In death, as in life, he remained emblematic of a particular kind of American heroism. Tough yet thoughtful, stylish yet sincere, larger than life yet grounded in human vulnerability. Paula's passing, so soon after his own, underscored the enduring strength of their bond. To admirers, their story became one of both cinematic legend and personal devotion. Together, they had stood as partners in art, in philanthropy, and in life. Together, they left behind not just memories, but institutions, causes, and inspirations that would continue to ripple outward long after they were gone. For Hollywood, the death of James Coburn was the loss of a bridge to another era, a reminder of the rugged icons who defined mid-century cinema. For those who knew him personally, it was the departure of a friend whose loyalty ran deep and whose laughter could light up a room. And for audiences, it was a farewell to one of the coolest, most indelible presences ever to grace the silver screen. Although James Coburn was widely remembered as one of Hollywood's most easygoing and congenial stars, there was one chapter of his career that revealed a very different side of his temperament. A long-standing animosity with fellow actor YUL Brynner. Their tension became one of the more enduring behind-the-scenes stories tied to the making of The Magnificent Seven, a film that launched Coburn's stardom but also left him with a bitter aftertaste. When production began in 1960, YUL Brynner was already a towering figure in Hollywood. Fresh off his Academy Award win for The King and I and his breakout turn in The Ten Commandments, Brynner carried himself with the aura of a superstar. On set, he was the undisputed headliner. And with that came demands that, to some, bordered on arrogance. Accounts from crew members and co-stars described how Brynner insisted on being placed in the very center of group shots, how he angled for the most flattering lighting, and how he often sought to dominate scenes, even when the script did not call for it. For James Coburn, a rising talent trying to establish himself, this behavior was more than mere vanity. It was a direct affront to the collaborative spirit he valued. Coburn, who had grown up during the hardships of the Great Depression and who had always respected teamwork, found Brynner's constant posturing intolerable. He believed cinema was about ensemble storytelling, not about a single actor overshadowing the collective. To him, Brynner's antics turned what could have been a spirit of camaraderie among the seven gunmen into an atmosphere of unnecessary rivalry. Coburn was not a man prone to outbursts, but he did not hide his disdain. Over the years, he spoke candidly about his frustration, once describing Brynner as the biggest spoiled brat in the West. The comment, biting in its simplicity, captured the depth of his irritation. While Coburn worked tirelessly to project quiet authority through his character Britt, on set, he often felt overshadowed by Brynner's relentless need for control. Even decades later, in interviews reflecting on his career, Coburn admitted that he had never harbored such intense dislike for any other colleague. This animosity became almost legendary, a rare blemish on Coburn's otherwise genial reputation. Unlike many Hollywood feuds that fizzled with time, the Coburn-Brynner rift seemed to calcify with age. Coburn never softened his stance. Long after Brynner's passing in 1985, Coburn continued to recount the difficulties of working alongside him, as though the memory of that rivalry had been etched permanently into his experience of The Magnificent Seven. Yet, in a curious way, the tension may have inadvertently benefited the film. The simmering hostility between the two men added an edge to their performances, contributing to the dynamic chemistry that made the ensemble so unforgettable. While Coburn's Britt was the silent, steel-nerved assassin, Brynner's Chris Adams embodied the authoritative leader. Their real-life discord mirrored the subtle power struggles between their characters, giving the film an undercurrent of tension that audiences, perhaps unconsciously, could sense. Still, Coburn's grudge against Brynner spoke volumes about his own values. He was an actor who believed in professionalism, humility, and respect for the craft. To him, the set was not a stage for ego, but a place for collaboration. Brynner's behavior represented the very opposite of what Coburn cherished, and it left a wound that time never healed. That Coburn carried this grudge for the rest of his life only underscored how deeply he felt the betrayal of artistic spirit. For fans of both men, the feud adds an intriguing layer of complexity to the mythology surrounding the Magnificent Seven. It reminds us that behind the polished images of Hollywood classics lie human stories. Stories of conflict, personality clashes, and egos as large as the characters being portrayed. And in this case, the grudge also reveals an aspect of Coburn's humanity. For all his coolness, wisdom, and resilience, he was not immune to anger or bitterness. He could forgive many things, but not what he saw as arrogance undermining the integrity of the work. In the grand tapestry of Coburn's life, the feud with Yul Brynner is but one thread, yet it is a telling one. It reveals a man of principle, one who could tolerate pain, illness, and personal setbacks with stoicism, but who would not abide disrespect on the set. It also humanizes him in the eyes of audiences, reminding us that even the most unflappable legends had their breaking points. By the time Coburn reflected on his career in his later years, he often spoke with humor, perspective, and even humility about his triumphs and challenges. But when Brynner's name surfaced, the sharpness returned. "I never disliked anyone the way I disliked Yul," he once admitted, a statement as blunt and unvarnished as the characters he played. And in that rare flash of candor, one can glimpse the fiery streak beneath the calm exterior, the uncompromising spirit of a man who valued authenticity above all. James Coburn's life story, in many ways, reads like a classic Hollywood script, full of triumphs and setbacks, enduring friendships, deep love, and yes, even rivalries that refuse to fade. His feud with Yul Brynner may seem like a footnote when compared to his towering career, yet it offers a fascinating glimpse into the raw humanity behind the glamour of cinema. Even legends are not immune to pride, frustration, and the scars of unresolved conflict. But beyond that, Coburn remains a symbol of resilience, charisma, and authenticity, an actor who survived the toughest of trials and left behind an indelible mark on film history. His story reminds us that the true measure of greatness lies not in perfection, but in the honesty with which one lives and creates. What do you think of this famous tension between Coburn and Brynner? Was it a clash of egos, or a reflection of deeper values about artistry and respect? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed uncovering this side of Hollywood's golden age, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more untold stories of cinema's most iconic stars.